I'm Samantha Brown, professional organizer, decluttering specialist, and business coach. I created Pro Organizers Coach podcast to empower you to reach new heights in your business. I am on a mission to build a supportive sisterhood of passionate professional organizers. So whether you're a seasoned pro or you're just getting started, this podcast is for you. Hey friends, welcome back to the Pro Organizers Coach podcast. I have Miss Colleen Watson, and she is a legacy consultant. And so you are definitely going to want to grab a pen and paper. This is something that is for all of us, but it's also something that we can potentially help our clients with, which is why I wanted to have this conversation so that you all could hear how you can help yourself, how you could help family members, but also how you can help your clients potentially. So thank you, Colleen, for being on the show.
Oh, very grateful to be here. It's always important to have this conversation.
Absolutely. So do you mind telling everybody a little bit about like what a legacy consultant is and what you do? And then we can jump into kind of how my ladies and my listeners can help their clients with these things.
So I kind of have two major focuses. The first major focus is for entrepreneurs, like organizers and things like that. I want to help people get a safety net under them so that if something happens to them, that they get pulled out of their business for an illness or an injury, either to themselves, a family member, where, you know, they don't have the bandwidth on a temporary basis to be able to do things. They have a plan in place so that they and their business can recover and thrive after that emergency. So that is focus number one. Focus number two is for my elderly members, because I am 55. I am a member of the sandwich generation. And, you know, there are a lot of us who we're looking at our kids and, you know, they're growing up and we're thinking college and tuition and all of, you know, that fun stuff. But we're also looking at our parents and realizing, oh my gosh, they're getting older. And many parents are very reluctant to have estate conversations with their children. But, you know, I help a lot of seniors as a third party outsider who isn't, you know, a family member, create what they call a knock box, which stands for next of kin box. So that all of their important documents are in one place, because, you know, the older we get, truth is, you know, the more likely we are to have an illness or injury that takes us out. And our children are going to need to, you know, step up and help run things, and having everything in one place makes everybody's life easier. So those are my two focuses.
Absolutely. I love that you're doing that. Because as organizers, I mean, that's our goal, right? Is to help people with whatever, like I tell my clients all the time, I'm a problem solver. I try to help you think about the things that are problems now, but also things that might happen in the future that you may not be thinking about. But because I do this every day, we've got to look at these certain things. And I love the fact that, like you said, you have to kind of do it sooner rather than later because, like, for instance, for me, my dad had passed away and I am an only child. So I didn't know where anything was. He was a very organized man, but as he got older, he got sicker. He ended up on dialysis. So he started forgetting things. He started moving things in those last 6 months. So it's like if he had passed away 6 months prior, it would have all been organized. But because he had those 6 months to kind of mess with things when he wasn't 100% in the right headspace, it all got a little scattered, right? And so I didn't know where the insurance, I mean, I knew nothing. And I was one of his main caregivers through those 6 months. I didn't even think, oh, well, when he passes, here's a list of the things I need to have ready to go. And you know, it's awful when you're in the moment of like, man, why didn't I do this sooner?
Mm-hmm. It is. No, I understand that. I was you. Like, we lost my dad in 2018. So I am my mom's caretaker. And luckily we had a lot of things set up, but she had her first major medical situation in 2023. And all of a sudden I'm a 24/7 caretaker.
Yes.
And like that, that involved a week in a hospital and 10 days in rehab and another 5 weeks of her in bed because she couldn't put any weight on her right foot. And I am, taking care of her and then getting her on her feet. Now I want to reassure everybody she's doing great. She's really
Good.
mobile. She's out today having fun with her DAR ladies. And, but it is a stressful thing. And I did this because I didn't have a plan, right?
Yep.
And you didn't have a plan. And I just kept thinking there has to be a better way to do this. There has to be a better way to get everything together and do this. And I think, a lot of parents are very reluctant to talk to their children about their estate plans. My favorite study about this came from Pew, and it came in 2022. And they asked seniors, so we're talking like 65 to into the 80s, like, have you talked to your family about your estate plans? And if the answer was no, why not? And do you know what the number one answer was? Urgency. I'm
Oh.
fine. I'm going to stay fine. They
I'm
don't
going to
need to
live
know.
forever.
Yeah. We make the mistake of thinking tomorrow is always going to look like yesterday. And one tomorrow, it won't. There is a thing that says 8 out of 10 people have emergency conversations in the hospital with their parents, right? And I get it. Like, nobody wants to bring up death. Nobody wants to think of their parents older and fragile and whatnot. But I think this is a real learning opportunity because by doing it for your parents and doing it for yourself, you're showing your children how important this is. This is a life lesson that you can pass on where you take what your parents gave you that worked and keep it and discard what didn't work and pass the good stuff on to the next generation. Because, a lot of this is about things like money, and we don't talk about money, and death. And oh God, we don't talk about death. You know what I mean? It's all of these things that it's somehow impolite to talk about, and yet they're going to affect everybody at some point. And so why don't we get things in order now? And the nice thing about a knockbox is it's a fairly non-threatening thing.
Right. It brings it up in a different way than, and it's almost like a knockbox. What's that? Like it almost brings like a curiosity to it.
Yeah.
Versus like, hey, can we talk about when you're going to die?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it also tends to make it easier for them because all of a sudden, like, oh, everything's in one place and I know where it is. Right. And, at some point you're I hate to say this, but in all the families, there's always like the one kid who is the responsible one who, is going to be picking up the bulk of the work when a parent gets ill. And if they know where the knockbox is, all of that information is there and it's good to go. And it's really non-threatening. And it's not, you don't think about it like, oh, this is planning for death. This is planning for illness. This is planning for it. No, this is making everything just more organized so I know where it is.
Exactly. And as organizers, we have the unique opportunity to present this to people in a way that maybe the average person, can't or wouldn't. Like the plumber wouldn't walk in and be like, hey, does your family have a knockbox?
No,
like,
it's really not.
Yeah, but as organizers, we are in your intimate space. We're helping you declutter. We're helping you go through papers. We're helping you go through these things. We're even just mentioning it or just letting someone know about it or like, hey, here's a resource. Anything could be life-changing for them and their family. Just that one little statement or, hey, here's a resource if you're ever interested.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, so if as an organizer, where would you say that I start with this?
So the easiest way to start from my perspective is to start with the legal documents. We don't think about this, but our lives are defined by our legal documents. Our birth certificate tells us, not just when and where we were born, but this is the country I'm a citizen of. This is the year I was born, which can make a difference in the way laws change and things happen. The year you were born determines when you can drive, when you can drink, when you can join the military, when you can vote. Like, there are all these things as citizens that depend on knowing when you were born, so you are legally allowed to do the things when you're legally allowed to do them. You need a passport to leave our country and return. You need a fishing license to fish. You need a driver's license to drive a car. There are many professions where you have to have a license to do that profession. And in order to keep that license, you have to have continual education to keep being able to get that license, right?
Right.
All of these are legal documents. A house deed is a legal document. Buying a car, you're signing a bunch of contracts. That's a legal document. Even a death certificate is a legal document, right? And we have a ton of these just kind of lying around. And if you think about it, how many times we need to have these things and we're like, oh my gosh, where's my birth certificate? Oh my gosh. Oh, something comes up about dad. Where's his death certificate? Right? Like, let's start with the simple things. Like, most people are like, fine, like, okay, let's get the birth certificates in one place. Let's put my house deed in one area. Let's put the car lease, the lease or the ownership or whatever you have in one place. That's an easy place to start because most people, one, it's the stuff that they don't think about. So they're like, oh, wait, yeah, let's have everything in one place. So when I need to pull it 2 years from now, I won't have to hunt around my house, right?
Yeah. Well, and honestly, two things are coming up for me as you're saying this. One is right now I have a fireproof safety box that was my dad's. And because of what I went through with my dad, I took his fireproof little small box. I used the system that he had created before he got sick and messed it all up in the 6 months. And I started implementing the same thing. So every single time, everything you're talking about, when I need my birth certificate, all of it is in that box. And it's been life-changing. Like,
I could understand that.
Yeah, it takes a weight off of your shoulders. And then the other thing, currently at the moment, I'm working with a client that just a couple days ago, I did a session with her and we were supposed to be working on her kitchen, but there was all these papers everywhere. I'm like, hey, let's tackle these for a minute and just kind of see what they are.
Yeah.
They were checks that she has been getting from her dad's like dividends and stocks and stuff. He's been dead 10 years. All of this paperwork that she was so overwhelmed by it and by the pile of paper, she didn't know where to start, how to start. So literally, I'm like, all right, we're going to get an accordion binder. Like, let's keep it simple. Let's just get an accordion binder.
Yeah.
We'll start putting stuff in there. Let's put, like items with like items. Because I'm like, that's the only place I know to start to help her. I'm like, okay, let's make a list. What do you need to get done? She's been putting this off now for a decade. And these are checks she could take to the bank in cash.
Yep. And
have her dad's death certificate. She didn't know where it was. So the pile has just been piling up of all this money. But because she didn't have the death certificate and didn't have a plan, it was just too overwhelming to deal with. And I totally get it. Have you ever thought, I know I'm meant to do something more, something that helps others in a real hands-on way? If you love organizing and want to turn it into a business that truly serves, you are in the right place. At ProOrganizerSacademy.com, I've created a clear path to help you turn that passion into a purpose-driven business, one that actually works. Step 1 is the How to Start Your Organizing Business course, where I teach you every step you need to take to go from dream to launch, including how to set up your business, price your services, and actually get clients. Step 2 walks you through building a beautiful website in just 5 days using a ready-made template designed to attract and convert clients, even if you're not tech savvy. Step 3 is all about learning how to work with real clients in a way that creates trust, results, and repeat business. This course includes session flow guidance, life coaching skills, and even the paperwork you will need. And through it all, you'll have access to our group coaching community, Or if you're already organizing professionally, you can join the community on its own as your next step. And when you finish this journey, you'll be a certified POC organizer, equipped, confident, and ready to serve your community with heart. Don't keep waiting. Visit proorganizerzacademy.com and take your first step to creating your very own professional organizing business.
There are documents that we need, and I start with the simple stuff because, of course, we need our birth certificates. Of course, you're going to need the death certificates. Yes, you need to know where your passport is in the case you have to do something out of the country for whatever reason. But there are things that we need that we don't know we need that I think like, oh my gosh, like I didn't know I still needed that. One of the big ones is military discharge papers, which is called your DD-214. If you have somebody who is in the military of any branch, doesn't matter, and they want some sort of military element to their funeral, you have to have this. If there are potential people who can get benefits from this, you have to have this form. And if you can't find it or you've lost it and you die, your family can't order that form.
Oh.
No executor can. Only the person who served has the ability to get that form again if you have lost it. And if this is something that matters to you, then you have to, and most people are like, oh, why would I need my discharge papers? I was out, like my dad got out of the army in like 1958. Why would he need his discharge papers? But, if he had wanted something like that at his funeral, you absolutely need them. And there are plenty of former veterans who do. There are plenty of potential people who could get military benefits who can't even see if they're eligible because they don't have this paperwork. So these are the things that could cost family members. And even your wishes, your desires, if you're not organized. And it's really kind of sad. So this is the type of things that people don't think about. Like you get out of the army in your whatever age you are, maybe you did your 4 years and you're 21 or 22. Maybe you did 8, maybe you did 12. But, God willing, you've lived a long life and why would you think you need your discharge papers? I don't know about you, but you're an organizer, but I have a mom who will throw anything away. Even things she shouldn't throw away. Right. And so, you have to have that balance of knowing what's like, no, you can't throw this away for this reason is another really important thing to know.
Yeah. Speaking of, so you have a checklist, right?
I do.
That has like all of the stuff so will you tell us a little bit about the checklist and I'll make sure to put the link in the show notes for the checklist for sure.
So the checklist, I kind of have it divided up into sections. So I start with what I talked to you about, your basic stuff, the stuff you need, important legal documents that, you need every 5 or 10 years. And if you know where it is, it's like big psychic relief. But then we go into the day-to-day things. So if you have a credit cards, you need to be able to have your most recent statement of your credit cards in there. If you have, say, a reverse mortgage on your home, because you don't get statements, like family can go through your stuff and you're not getting a statement for a reverse mortgage. You don't know how many heirs discover 6 months later when they think they've gotten everything under control that, oh, wait, they had a reverse mortgage that we have to pay money on. And there was no documentation of that anywhere. So make sure you have those sorts of things. So we start with anything that can be considered a lien on your property. So that's credit cards. That's any kind of loans that you have for any reason. So your family understands, particularly if you put this together, but you still haven't had the conversation with somebody, it's all in one area. They know what part of whatever the estate needs to cover whatever the lien is on that estate. right? Because
Right.
that's where people get into real problems. And of course, potentially the most important document you have to have after the day-to-day stuff is your will. And this is where a lot of people get into trouble because most people don't have wills.
Mm.
According to, there are two different legal organizations that did a survey about this. One come up with 32%, one come up with 38% of people have wills.
Mm-hmm.
2/3 of people do not have wills, right? And this is, one of the nice things about having just a checklist with will on it is it's a little nudge, like, oh yeah, I haven't made a will yet. And it's coming, like, it's not from your kids. It's not from your grandkids. It's not from your spouse. It's this third party person who doesn't know you from Adam who's saying, yeah, you need a will and it needs to go in here. I don't think people understand what not having a will means. Because a lot of people really do think, like, I don't have enough stuff. My family will figure it out after I'm gone.
Oh,
Right?
real quick. So I need to tell a story. So my stepdad, a few years ago, so I am one of six with my mom and my stepdad. Now, they travel all the time. They're both retired now. He has also been served in our military for 24 years. And so recently they have two homes. Like they have quite a bit of, there's stuff that needs to be figured out if something
Yeah.
were to happen. So I said to them, I said, hey, have you guys gotten everything in order? Heaven forbid, while you all are traveling, you have a car accident and both of you were to pass at the same time. What are the six of us going to do? And then all your grandkids, because I could see it becoming very dysfunctional. And why would you
Very
want to do that
quickly.
to your kids,
Yeah.
right? And he was like, nope, sure don't. He said, you know what? You all will figure it out when I'm gone. He literally could care less. And I was like, oh, wow, this is like, ugh, right? Like,
Yeah.
why? And he kind of said it jokingly. So part of me is like, well, maybe he does because he's that kind of person, right?
Yeah.
He has that very like army, manly, like jokey kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he could have been serious too. I can never tell when he's joking or when
Yeah.
he's serious.
No, I hear you.
And it's like, heaven forbid if both of them were to pass at the same time. I mean, literally, there's so many things we would need to figure out that, I don't even know how we would get it done.
Well, see, and here's the interesting thing and the thing that nobody considers. So they travel a lot, but I'm assuming they have their home state, the state where they claim residency.
Right.
So without a will, that means that the state determines who gets what. And so typically what happens is, now this is called dying intestate. And what's terrible about dying intestate is that if you have a situation like you're due with your mom and your stepdad, you're a stepdaughter. You get nothing.
Right.
Right? But if if your dad, your stepfather, and you have a good relationship and he would want you to get something,
right.
Not having a will means you get nothing, right? Because the way it generally goes, and this is a broad generalization, every state does it a little bit differently. So you have died without a will. That doesn't mean you don't have to go through probate, right? So what you'll have to do is you'll have to apply for probate during whatever time that is. It means there's no executor, right? So what happens is you go to probate court. The court assigns an executor to that estate. And then the executor, who is paid, by the way, out of the estate, lessening the estate for anybody who could possibly get anything, because that's how they get paid, they go by whatever the laws of the state are. And it generally goes like, number one in line is spouse, right? If spouses die, number two in line are children, which sadly doesn't include you. It only includes biological children. If there are no children for whatever reason, typically it'll go parents. If they still have, if they're younger and they still have living parents, that would go next. And then generally kind of last on the list is siblings, right? But without a will, cousins can come out of the woodwork. people can claim they're, biological, but illegitimate. I mean, like all sorts of things can happen.
Oh, and the amount of time, stress, money that all of that is going to take when if while they were living, they would have just went and created a will. Like my dad, he had literally written out on a piece of paper. That was good enough to consider because it was in with all of his papers.
Yeah.
That was good enough. At least we had something to go by.
Yes.
Versus if there's no list. And like you were saying, because like my mom, if my mom and my stepdad both pass, right? My mom is still my mom. But then it's like, oh, well, what's in her name? What's in his name? Like you were saying, the benefits of him being in the army all those years. Like there's so many things. And my mom and stepdad have all, because of them being in the army and the generation they grew up in, they keep it all to themselves.
Yes.
They do not speak to not a one of us about it. Not one of the six of us have a clue what's going to happen because they feel like they still have forever to live.
Yeah. But that's the nice thing about this checklist is if they get it all organized and in one place, they can keep that up and not have talked to you at all. But somebody finds the knockbox and everything is in there. You're still going to be okay because you know what's on the agenda, right?
Yeah, as soon as we get done recording this, I'm sending my mom the checklist. By the way,
I do not blame you. So behind the will, is all your insurances. So your life insurance, your homeowner's insurance, car insurances, what the policies all are, what they cover. And, one of the things I always recommend people do is to take it out once a year. So once a year, I always encourage people, like, maybe it's the first weekend in January. I don't care when it is. You just have an established pattern. It goes on your calendar. You get open the Knox box. You open it all up. You look at like, okay, who are the beneficiaries on all of my, investments and things like that. Make sure that's still good. Move on. What's my life insurance cover? What's my health insurance cover? What are my backup insurances cover? And all of that stuff. So you understand going forward, like what is going on. So you're not like caught out. Like once a year, you just get a little refresher course on things. And that way, if things have changed, you can make changes. One of the big things that does happen with people, particularly in their homes, is they do some sort of upgrade. They look at their kitchen and they decide, okay, we need new appliances. And as long as we're getting new appliances, why don't we, invest in some nicer backsplash or some nicer counters or whatever? Same with bathrooms, same with bedrooms. Any upgrade you do to your home that increases the value of your home, first of all, I make sure that I have a realtor friend, have them go through, look at the upgrades you've done and say, does this increase the value of my home? And if the answer is yes, you need to increase the value of your homeowner's insurance because I'm in Colorado. Colorado had a very big event several years ago called the Marshall Fire. And it was a horrible fire that destroyed over 100 homes and apartment buildings. Unfortunately, it hit at the wrong moment where we were having this intense wind. And so the wind just spread everything. Hundreds of people suddenly were without their homes. And then the other terrible thing that happened, it was like this 1-2 punch of terrible weather. So you have this wind that carries this fire and destroys things. And then the next day it snows. So if there's a hole in the roof or in a window or in anything, all of a sudden you have water damage, right? So it was this 1-2 punch. And people discovered they'd done all of these upgrades to their homes, but they hadn't upped their policy to include those upgrades. So they couldn't build a home back to the equivalent level of the home they lost.
Plus including the cost of things now versus, right? Like, so, can't build anything for the cost of what you used to be able to build it for. So you almost need every penny you can to get back what you've created and what you've paid for.
And, the other thing you need to do, and people don't do this, they don't think about it, is you need to save the receipts from everything you've bought to upgrade your home, right?
Mm.
They need that for two reasons. One, God forbid you have a Marshall fire in your area like we did and you have to deal with this. But the other is if you are lucky enough that you were able to live a great life, you held on to this home that you loved, that you did upgrades for, you've passed away, and your kids are now in the process. They all realize they can't take on the home. They have their own lives. They're going to put it up for sale. You're going to be able to show the realtor all of the upgrades that have been made so that the realtor can then get you the best possible deal for the house. And, that sounds very cold. But the truth is a lot of people, they love their childhood homes, but they don't want to live there as adults.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
these are things that people just don't remember. One of the things that I found out that once again, I'm in Colorado. We are sunny here. We have sun like 263 days average out of the year.
Really? When I think of Colorado, I think of snow. But anyways, go ahead.
Yes. The lovely thing about Colorado is it snows. You have a gray, crappy day for 24 to 36 hours. And then the sun comes out. Is it 27 degrees out and freezing outside? Yes. Does it look like it's 60 degrees and lovely? Yes, because the sun is out, right? And so we do a lot of solar here. A lot of people have solar on their homes. Well, guess what? You don't own that solar. You lease it. And if you sell a house with solar panels on top of it, you do not sell the lease to the solar panels. So if you've sold your house, one of the reasons the new people bought it is because it had solar panels and it's going to save them money on their electric bill. If there's a problem with them, they're going to want to talk to the person on the lease, which is the former owner. If you're going to do that, you need to call them and say, I'm selling my house. How do I turn the lease over to the buyer? You know what I mean?
Yes.
And these, once again, who thinks of this stuff?
Nobody.
Right? Nobody. And that's why I created a checklist. Like it's pretty simple. It's all like, here's this, here's this, here's this. But it's things like when you read it, a lot of people have said, I'd never even thought of that.
That's when you know you have a good checklist.
And one of the insurance ones I have is a lot of people have collections of things, that they love, that their kids have exactly zero interest in.
Oh, we deal with that every day as organizers. Yes.
Yeah. What if you made a plan for that collection before you passed? For example, my brother has been an amateur photographer since he was in high school. My brother is now 66.
Right.
You can imagine how many thousands of dollars my brother has invested in camera equipment. Are any of his sons in cinematography? No, couldn't care less.
Yeah.
But I said to him, Bob, is there maybe an educational program you could donate those cameras to that somebody would get value out of them? If you are an art collector, is there an art museum that would love your collection? Particularly, everybody's like, well, no, the Metropolitan Museum of Art is not going to want my collection. Probably not. But last time I checked, there are a million local regional museums that might be very appreciative of your art collection. If it's sports memorabilia, there's all kinds of places that you can donate that stuff to if you're willing to do a little research. And that way, this thing that you've put love and time and money into doesn't just become an asset. It becomes something to be appreciated by next generation of people who share your interests.
And not just that, if you have a collection and let's say you want it to be sold and the money donated to your local church, or there's all sorts of ways you can go about saying what you want done. But what I also love about that is as organizers, we are constantly dealing with the kids who the parents have passed or, whoever it is that their loved one has passed. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, this was grandma's china, for instance, or grandma's cats or grandma's beanie babies or whatever the collection is.
Yeah.
I should hold on to it for the rest of my life. And they hold on to it out of guilt. And then it starts taking up areas of their home and they hate it, but they have this guilt. I call it gift guilt. Like they honestly have this guilt of like, oh, well, it was my grandmother's. And so I should not, and I try to be like, hey, is there maybe your favorite in there you could keep, or could we take a photo? And then could we release the rest?
Yeah.
So for them, if they were like, oh, Mama had said that she wanted it to be this to be done with it, I can take the one I want and then the rest can go away. It's also keeping that burden from following the generations, which is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, all of this together creates a knockbox. I also strongly encourage people to put in a knockbox, or in another area besides their knockbox. Take a picture of all your important documents, put it on a flash drive, right? And put it somewhere safe. And I've always told people, like, if you have a safety deposit box, put it there. If you have a lawyer, just say, can you hold on to this for me? So if the worst possible thing happens and it gets destroyed for any reason, I mean, we all want fireproof safes, but there are certain fires, not even fireproof safes. You can do the very best you possibly can and still lose everything.
Absolutely.
Take pictures, put it somewhere not in your home.
Right.
And there are all kinds of like knock boxes you can purchase for yourself. Go to Amazon. There'll be a million of them, but I think they're a little pricey. Like a plastic box with some hangers and some manila folders and, a file thing. That's like $50. It works just fine.
I've never heard of this concept and I can't believe I haven't as an organizer. I love this concept because literally at least once a week, I could be helping someone change their mindset or at least plant that seed or get them thinking about these things. Yeah. And that's what I love about being an organizer is because it's these little things we're doing now that we don't even get to see the magnitude of what it creates in other people's lives and like the ripple effect it has. And so this is a huge resource that we can, not just mention the next to kin box, but be like, hey, I have a checklist for you. If you would like, I'll send it to you. And then you've at least done your part to offer them something, right? And so speaking of, will you tell everyone like where they can find you, your website, all of that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So I'm called Century Plant Business Services. So I do help entrepreneurs create a safety net for their businesses, which includes a knockbox. But as somebody who is a caretaker to a senior and who knows what this looks like, I also help seniors organize their knockboxes and get them together because sometimes something cold like a checklist or a third party outsider who could care less about whatever your family dynamics are.
Right.
Can get the message across. And so I'm at Century Plant Business Services and I will send Samantha my list. You can get it on hers and you can get it on my website. I also have, if you're interested, and I'll send Samantha this as well, what I call the starter kit. And the starter kit includes a place to write down all your usernames and passwords. This is another thing we forget. Like, yeah, great. I have somebody who can pay my bills. Can they get into my bank account?
Oh, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the way the world works these days, people don't write checks.
No.
You have to, and everything is digital. If you want to, I mean, my mom and we had a really strong wind, created that fire I just told you about, knocked down our fence. Right. So we had to make a claim to get the homeowner's insurance to build us a new fence. It all was done online. How do can you make a claim? You can't make a claim on the phone anymore. So they have to have your username and your passwords for all of that. So there's a username and password. There's a phone numbers for your important people. Like, who is my doctor? What medications am I actually on?
Oh, that's huge. Every time I've had to take my dad to the hospital or my husband when he was going through his stuff. I literally kept a list of their
Mhm.
medications in my wallet because it happened so many times that I had to know and I didn't know that finally I was like, that's it. I'm writing a list and I'm keeping it with me. And it made life so much simpler to
Yeah.
just have that list.
What is the name and the phone number of my insurance guy, my estate attorney, my financial people, my doctors, my specialists that I go to? So I can, somebody can call them and get information. And another thing, I'm so glad I brought this up, because another thing people forget to do is, we have these lovely HIPAA laws that protect privacy, and we need them. I'm all for them. But if you want somebody to have medical information about you, you need to make sure that all of your doctors have that person's name down, that they are legally allowed to give them information about you. And it should be, if you're married, obviously it should be your spouse.
Yeah.
But, as you get older, you might want to include one of your kids. So there's somebody who can call and talk to all of your doctors and get the information that they need. Right. We have
Absolutely.
all of that. We have, also a phone tree list. All of us have an emergency contact, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, who do you want the emergency contact to contact? If you have a very best friend, you're going to want to be there for you and support. Put that name on the list. Do you belong to a church community who you want to know about? Put the name on the list. Are you volunteer? Put that, so that not just your family, but the other important people who you love, they love you, they're going to want to know what's going on. All of that's there. And I will send you the link for that as well, because people forget, like, oh, right, I should tell my mom's best friend. Oh, right, I should call my cousin Greg.
Absolutely. No, I mean, you have literally thought of everything. Like
I try.
everything. I am so impressed. And so that's your starter kit. So I will
Mm-hmm.
definitely have the list for that or the link for that. And then I'll definitely have your website link too. So they can just go straight to your website. They can find out
Mm-hmm.
all the information that they need to. But thank you so much for informing us about all of this because I mean, honestly, like it's all of the things that matter and exactly what you said earlier about being like a third party person that can mention these things. As organizers, we are a third party
Mm-hmm.
person that can mention it without somebody taking offense or without it being too emotional or without whatever. And why wouldn't we take the time? Like the
Yeah,
whole time you've been
absolutely.
talking, I've been taking notes, like send the list to this person, do that, cause like I want to help other people with things they're not even thinking about.
Yeah, and I'm really passionate about this. So, I'll send it to you, but if any of your organizers are interested at all, please contact me. I will send it to you. You can put your own logos on it. I don't really care. We need to, death
Get
is
the word
scary.
out.
Death is scary. And I have lost a parent. You have lost a parent, and
Hmm.
your brain gets fuzzy for a while.
Yes.
Grief is a hard thing. And, I always love that line in, WandaVision, what is grief but love continuing, that he
Right.
says to her. And, so it's an honor to grieve because it means that that person and you did it right. Right?
Absolutely. Well, and when you're in grief, like you said, your head's fuzzy. You don't have the capacity to think about those things that, and
Mm-hmm.
all you have all these other choice and decisions coming at you. Like,
Yep.
how do you want the funeral to be? Like, what do you want to, like, there's all these other things that are coming at you.
Yeah.
People, and a lot of people seem to plan that part at some point,
Yes.
like how they want their funeral done. Okay, great. Your funeral's done, but now what?
Yeah.
Like
Because,
they don't.
and
Hello.
probate, takes anywhere from 9 to 48 months.
Oh
It
yeah.
can be a long, drawn out process, even if you've done everything right.
Yes.
Depending on what state you're in, there
And
are,
how many people come out of the woodwork
yeah.
or getting all of because then you have to notify people. Like we had to go through
Hmm.
this with my grandmother recently. And it honestly, I think by the time the law, and she had a lawyer, he had everything, but there were certain little pieces missing, just little pieces, nothing
Yeah.
big. She didn't have a huge estate, nothing like that. It took right at 3 years for everything to make its way through the system to where it was like, quote unquote, said and done.
Yeah.
So her kids were having to constantly deal with this thing. And she had
Mm-hmm.
been sick on her deathbed and had dementia. So they had taken care of her. We all took turns taking care of her for years before she
Mm-hmm.
passed. Then once she passed, now for years, this thing's getting drawn out that didn't have to if all of this would have been implemented before she passed.
Yeah. And, I generally, I mean, like your stepdad's comment, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
get that, because what I love is everybody thinks like, okay, the kids have grown up and whatever problems they had with each other when they were teenagers, those are over.
Oh, yeah.
No,
No.
because what happens is you grow up, you get to have your own life, and everybody just decides I can put up with this person and the way they drive me crazy at the major holidays because I'm an adult, and the
And
rest
this
of
is
the
what adults do.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the second, somebody dies, particularly if it's a parent,
Yes.
like all of a sudden, because it's so difficult and emotional, you're a teenager again. And all of that stuff comes up. And,
Absolutely.
and just think about this. You're not there to be the peacemaker that you've always had to be for your children while you were there. I always say this to my seniors, if you're lucky and you've done everything right and you have, your kids you've done the 24/7 parenting, you helped them become the adults they became. They went off and did what they were supposed to do, which is build their own life. Maybe they got married and had kids. Maybe they didn't. Whatever their life looks like, but you've launched them, right? They're out in the
Right.
world and it could be decades since you've had to be that 24/7 taking care of the kid parent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's really easy, and the older you get, yes, you love your parents, but they're not parenting you anymore,
Right.
right? The creation of a will is your last and potentially most important act of parenting, right?
Ooh, that's good.
And just because you did, because that's the ender. If you really want to say I did the very best job I could, I raised my kids right, they became these people, you can't say that 100% until you have that will.
Right. And potentially, I mean, we all know it. There are families that you did everything right and the family even got along. You raised your kids great. But because of your death and the fighting, it actually split the family.
Yeah, it does. And so take this away, like get everything ready in advance takes so much psychic weight. You don't even know you're carrying off
Yes.
your shoulders, right?
Yeah. Well, and what I love about what you're presenting here is it's not just like, yes, it's the death stuff for sure. But it's also stuff that, like for me, the second you get it all in one place, it takes the weight off of your shoulders while you're still living for the rest of your
Yes.
life as well. So it's helping you in the meantime. And then it also helps your children too. Why would we not want to do that in life?
Yeah, and it seems very simple, but sometimes that we all know that simple and easy aren't always the same thing for some
Hello.
people.
As organizers, we would not have jobs if that was not the case. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me and for being on the show. This has been
Oh, no, thank you so much
so
for having me.
powerful. Yes. And then for those of you listening, we'll have all the links in the show notes. Reach out if you have any questions, and definitely, help your clients plant those seeds. Or even if it's you and your own family, like even if that's where you start and you just decide, hey, I need to do this for myself and my own kids. Great. Then we've at least helped one person, because once you do it for yourself, then you can tell others how you did it and what you did. And so it becomes, again, this ripple effect that, in my opinion, that's what we're here for, is to become a ripple effect in other people's lives. So I appreciate you so much, Colleen. And for those of you listening, we will catch you in the next episode. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Pro Organizers Coach podcast. Go to proorganizerscoach.com to find all the ways that we can help you succeed in your business. Remember, you have the power to make a difference in people's lives through decluttering and organization. So keep honing your skills, embracing those challenges, and fostering connections. Girl, you've got this.